Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well this fine Tuesday, the 20th of May. That's a special date for me. I have the 20th of May tattooed on my arm. That's significant today. Anyhow, we're here to talk. Oh my God. We're here to talk about the absolute outrageousness that happened yesterday with Mr. Shannon Burgess. Dear God, Jesus Christ and all the saints, take me away from all this. Surely there's got to be a way off the planet. This is not justice. This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. It was bad enough, right? It was bad enough that Bev was going to allow this guy who just happened to just completely off the cuff revise his report. Of course, he's one of the quote unquote forensic experts from the company Aperture, which has been employed by Brennan to counteract Arca. The fact that this guy it just happens that one day after the Arca report comes in, he decides to revise his report. But Hank Brennan was surprised at this. But we find out during cross-examination, which isn't over yet, we find out that Brennan did know, that he spoke to Brennan on the 7th of May. So the very day that the Arca report would have come in. Spoke to him. And a 140-page report arrived the day after with all his revisions in it. Absolute nonsense. So I'm not going to talk about the DNA from the morning. I don't think that's really that interesting. We're going to concentrate on good old Mr. Burgess. Now, what everybody's talking about is the fact that Mr. Burgess lied about his qualifications. What I want to focus on, though, and by the way, Mr. Burgess, is still employed. I checked this morning. He is still employed by Aperture. I'm kind of thinking maybe his employment status is questionable. I don't know whether Aperture as a company are going to want to distance themselves from Mr. Burgess, the forensic expert. Let's take a look at his CV, shall we? He says he's got a Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration from the University of Alabama from 2022. So presumably that's the graduation date. However, on his LinkedIn, which I can't access because somehow I've managed to get myself locked out of LinkedIn. So when I click the LinkedIn tab, it just wants me to sign in, and it won't let me sign in. So I'm not setting up a new account. I can't be bothered. I just get that page, but not to worry. But on his LinkedIn, yeah, Bachelor of Bullshit, yeah. On his LinkedIn, it said he did his degree between 2016 and 2018. But it turns out he doesn't have a degree at all. That his bachelor's in general science is not a thing. So it's actually general studies with minor in mathematics and whatever else he's saying, business administration. So he's just basically doing a bit of this and a bit of that. But he's been doing a bit of this and a bit of that for years. So his degree is still in progress. But his education on Aperture's website still says a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, and an associate's in computer networking. So I think he does have an associate's degree. It's the bachelor's degree that's the problem. So as of today, Mr. Burgess is still employed. Anyhow, what I'm going to focus on is not his qualifications or lack thereof. And the lion, it's the lion. It's the lion that has got everybody up in arms. And Hank must have known. Hank must have known that this will come up, surely. Surely. I wish the camera had been put on Hank. I want to know what Hank was looking like when all this was going down. But I can tell you that in my experience, if you lie about your qualifications to get a job at a university in the UK, and you lie, and you found out, you are fired. I know this because I know someone it happened to. Years ago, some guy was employed at a university that I used to work at, and he was American, and he came with this impressive CV. He got this PhD from this prestigious university. He worked for the FBI. He'd been a bounty hunter. He'd done all of the things and the stories that he would tell you, right? He'd done it all. And we kind of got suspicious because these stories started to get more and more wild. And somehow he ended up being investigated, and it turns out that he didn't have all of these qualifications that he said he had. And guess what? He was fired. It was coming to the end of his contract anyway. He was on like a year temporary, which had the potential of being upgraded to permanent, but he just disappeared. He got disappeared. The boss had a little bit of egg on his face because I don't know who was meant to check his references, but perhaps they didn't check his references quite as rigorously as they should have done. But he was gone. He was gone. That was it. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Outrageous. But what I want to focus on is the timeline. You know, I'm a timelines person, right? I'm a timelines person. So let's have it. Yay, let's have it. I didn't see the hand signals and the creepy grin. I mean, she does these strange grins anyway, so I know what kind of grin you're talking about, but I didn't see the hand signals. No, I didn't. Professor in mathematics and science. You forgot business administration. Dear me. Dear me. Yeah, they all do. They all go through experience and this, that, and experience and education. I mean, look, if you look at his experience, I mean, he's got a lot of professional certifications. Whether they're true or not is anybody's guess. And then work experience. He's done all of this stuff. Again, is it true? Can't believe anything this guy says. But I am going to focus on the timeline, okay? Because if the timeline doesn't work, then I'm sorry. That's it. That's all for me. And I did say right at the beginning of this trial that this might well come down to the timeline. It may well come down to the timeline. And in this case, every second matters. But if the timeline doesn't work, then the person is not guilty in my eyes. If the state, or in this case, the Commonwealth, is coming with a theory about what happened, and they're bringing on experts to quote unquote prove their theory, and that timeline doesn't stand up to scrutiny, then that's it. It doesn't matter what else there is. If the state's proposed theory does not work based on the state's own experts, then that person, that defendant, has to be not guilty. This is what I've gone on and on and on about with the Delphi case, that the state's theory of what happened doesn't fit the timeline from the state's own experts. It's very clear, but the jury couldn't put it together. So I hope that in this case, it's made extremely clear to the jury that the timeline that they're proposing does not work. And we're going to go through step by step to show you exactly how it doesn't work. That's what we're going to do. You see what I put on Twitter? It just when Alessi started to cross-examine, I kind of got the feeling right from the jump that Alessi was like a cat stalking. You know, when cats or dogs, Cassie does this, they stalk and they virtually stand still, and their movements are like so slow, like they're just literally hardly moving, and they're literally inching forward very, very, very quietly, and then they just pounce. Well, that's exactly what Mr. Burgess was a victim of yesterday. It was a bloodbath. It was a bloodbath, but we'll get there. We will get there. So let's start off with, actually, what I'm going to start off with is this. But we're going to go through step by step the timeline. But this is what Karen and her dad had to say after court yesterday. And Bill Reed is not happy. And is there any surprise he's not happy? Is there any surprise? I don't know who this guy is, smirking here. I don't know who this guy is, but Bill Reed certainly wasn't messing. All right.
You must have a lot. You're an educator.
Well, you certainly don't misrepresent your academic credentials, particularly when you're an expert. I'll start with that. And I don't know where to go from there. It's just what this state is doing, this persecution of Karen Reed and this collection of actors, witnesses, is just disgraceful. Disgraceful. I'm going to call upon Michael Morrissey to stop this charade. Do the honorable thing. Because of what we've seen in this courtroom over the last 4+ weeks now. This is an expert witness today. Have a good night, everybody. Yep.
So Bill is not happy. So the guy smiling is Karen's brother. Is it? I don't know what Karen's brother looks like. All right, this is Karen coming out.
Yeah, my reaction is that Attorney Brennan represented to this court and to us just last week that he was surprised to get a report on May 8th. That was only shared with us on May 11th. And now we find out from this witness that Attorney Brennan knew this report was coming the whole time. That's the definition of an ambush. That's what just happened.
It is absolutely the definition of an ambush. That Brennan was bleating, whining that the defense were going to ambush him. But because the ARCA report was late, and the ARCA report was not late, Bev didn't think so. Bev considered it a discovery violation. We had grave concerns, was shaking even when she found out. But no, the ARCA report is the ARCA report. The ARCA report has always been the ARCA report. But there was revisions based on these so-called experts from Aperture. So they did revisions, and Bev gave them till the 7th of May. bleating Brennan, like, oh, trial by ambush, and Bev believes him, says, right, you got to get this in 7th of May, and then the day after, we get Burgess's new report, which is absolute nonsense, and I'll show you exactly for why it is. But, yeah, he's got no shame. I bet Mr. Burgess didn't sleep well last night, though. I was thinking they're going to be calling an ambulance in a minute. Like, he was getting redder and redder. Even the top of his head was red. Like, his blood pressure must have been like 200 over 150 or something. Really dangerous. I was thinking, God, he's going to flake out here. I hope he's got a strong heart. Else they're going to be calling an ambulance. He's not going to want to come to court today, is he? He's going to call in sick. Oh, dear. Anyway, yeah, absolutely an ambush. But Alessi is the absolute master. Take a bow, sir. Absolute sublime cross-examination. And we're not finished. We are not finished. It's gonna be fireworks from the jump today. Thank you, A to Z. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day yourself. Thank you for the $10. It's very kind of you. From the jump, we've got the finish of the cross-examination. We've got the redirect, and then we'll have, no doubt, a recross.
What do you think of his?
Here, what do you think of his timeline?
What about the credentials? Anything on his
Do you have any
credentials?
more idea of any more? It's called fraudulent. It's fraudulent. It's a lie.
Will you be able to challenge his conclusion?
Yes. Do you think the data was fudged? You'll hear more about the data. Our case hasn't started.
You'll be able to show that the phone was locked after the backup event? After the trigger event?
Oh, absolutely. It's already been shown by their witness, by Ian Whiffen.
It has. It absolutely has. She's absolutely right. And just so happens here, I've got Ian Whiffen. We're going to go back to day 5, and we're going to listen from the man himself, Ian Whiffen. And it's Ian Whiffen with his East Midlands / Yorkshire accent. Very familiar accent here. We're going to listen to what Ian Whiffen said, because Burgess has based his analysis on Ian Whiffen. So it's only right that we listen to what Ian Whiffen has to say. Okay, so this is from day 5, and this is the direct examination of Ian Whiffen.
That's where the location was at that time. And then 21 minutes and 5 seconds, the device had already started using Waze. It was already driving along Denham Street, or had turned onto Maplecroft.
Okay, so these times are 12 past. So 12:11, 12:21, 12:22, 12:31, etc. All right, because these are in military time, so 00 is 12, right? So we're going through the health data. This is what he's got on screen here. This is John O'Keefe's health data, and he's relying on health data and the Waze app, which is like a sat-nav type app. He's relying on that to get his timings. Okay.
Time did you say that Waze was initiated?
It was approximately 19 minutes and 30 seconds-ish.
Thank you.
Again, we see at 21 minutes and 10 seconds until 24 minutes and 22 seconds, there are 80 steps recorded. And again, if you compare this to the location data, we know that the device was in a vehicle at this time. Between 22 minutes and 14 seconds and 24 minutes and 37 seconds, we have 3 flight climb events that are aggregated into that time period. And again, the location data shows that the device was traveling in a vehicle at that time.
So these flights climbed and the steps taken, apparently he's in a vehicle at this time. So make of that what you will. But the steps and the distance that was walked becomes incredibly important once Ian Whiffin alleges that the vehicle stops outside of 34 Fairview.
So Whiffen, you had showed us a slide of 2437 on January 29, 2022 in your PowerPoint presentation, noting at that time, 12/24/37, the phone in the car was still traveling at 1.4 miles per hour.
Correct. This is about a second before it came to a stop.
Can you conclude to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that that period of 12/22/14 to 12/24/37, Mr. O'Keefe, or at least Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, was still in that car?
Yes, the location data shows it was in the car at the time. And my next few slides will demonstrate why that was still recording a flight climb event while it was in the vehicle.
Thank you.
At 31 minutes and 56 seconds until...
Right, so this is crucial. 12:31 and 56 seconds. So the car is at a standstill. He's closed the ways up. He's at 34 Fairview. And his phone starts registering. So 31:56, an event begins.
32 minutes and 16 seconds, there were 36 steps recorded. And then there was no further health activity recorded on the device for several hours until 4 minutes after 6 a.m.
Okay. So we've got a 20-second set of movement here. Now, I've talked about this a lot because this is absolutely crucial. Crucial. So 12:31 and 56 seconds, John O'Keefe is out of his car, or out of Karen's car. He's reading a text message and he's walking 36 steps. It takes him 20 seconds to walk 36 steps, and those steps end at 12:32 and 16 seconds. 12:32 and 16 seconds. 12:32 and 16 seconds. You've got to keep that time in your head. And this is all from Ian Whiffin's analysis of John O'Keefe's phone. Okay? 12:32 and 16 seconds is when those steps end. 36 steps. I asked AI, you got to believe AI, right? Got to believe AI. How far an average man can walk with an average gait, an average speed, using 36 steps. And AI told me that it's 90 feet. 90 feet. Guess how much John O'Keefe's phone walked during those 20 seconds and 36 steps. 83.5 feet. So AI was pretty close. All right. And 83 feet takes you from the curb to the back gate of 34 Fairview. At that time, the phone stops. Now, what everybody's focusing on is when John's phone was locked. Now, Ian Whiffin, later in this testimony, tells us that John O'Keefe's phone was manually locked. So he manually pressed the power button, which will lock your phone, right? At 12:32 and 9 seconds. So he's in the process of walking. He reads the text, he locks the phone, but he's still walking. He's still in the process of walking the 36 steps. So he's walking and reading Then he locks his phone and probably just puts it in his pocket, because that's when we start getting the pocket events. Now, I'm not going to go into all of that, but Ian Whiffen says there's a whole series of pocket events, right? Which starts happening because your phone works out that you're in a pocket because the camera's blocked. Could be in a bag, could be upside down, but whatever. Okay. We're all clear on that, right? State's own witness. Now, let's fast forward to good old Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess has Mr. Burgess has used Ian Whiffen to base his analysis on, his new analysis. Now, they went through a long diatribe about, I don't want to lose my place, so I don't want to click on anything, but we've got videos. He's trying to map it. He's trying to match the phone to, what's the break? He's matching the phone to surveillance camera, not the phone, the Lexus, when the Lexus powered on and when the Lexus powered off, compared with security cameras, which was meaningless. As I said on Twitter, said this on Twitter. This is what I said on Twitter as all this was going down. I've got questions for Mr. Burgess. One, when comparing the power on of Karen's Lexus with the ring cam, because he compared matching times with the ring cam footage of Karen coming out of John's garage at 5, whatever, and then later on in the day when they were at Karen's parents. But how do you know the ring cam time is accurate? What's this even about? What's this? It's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. And two, if you don't see the Lexus actually power on, how do you know how long it took Karen to appear in the shot? Because Karen turned the car on in the garage, so she could have sat there for, I don't know, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 2 minutes with the car idling. So how does he know? Because he doesn't see the power on. So this was just absolute complete nonsense. Same here. Same here. How do you know the time on the alarm cam is accurate? It's a clown show. But then we get to the meat and potatoes. We get to the bit that I was waiting for. Because what he did was he matched up the time when the Waze app on John's phone measured the 3-point turn. Like, they went the wrong way and they had to turn around and they did a 3-point turn. He matched that up to the second, supposedly, with Karen's Lexus and that event of doing the 3-point turn. All right. And I thought, okay, so we don't have to have the phone telling the accurate time. Because what, in an ideal world, to be truly scientific, what you should have been able to do was independently, and I've said this in a previous live stream, to be absolutely accurate, what you should do is make sure that the Lexus time is accurate to the millisecond with the atomic clock, like the actual clock of the world. So it's measuring the actual time. And if you have to do, a conversion, do it. And the same with John's phone. So you've got both things reading exactly the right time, and then match up the events. But I thought, no, okay, I'm being overly, I would have done that. But I thought, okay, I'm being overly critical here. Yeah, I suppose if you can match up an event to the second, this particular clock is doing this at this time, and this particular clock is doing this at this time. Okay, match them up. Fine. I'll go with it. I'll go with it. And he also alleges he did the same with the reverse maneuver. So he was able to calculate from the 3-point turn when Karen did the reverse maneuver, and he was able to then work out with a very small level of inaccuracy what John's phone was doing at that time. So I thought, okay, I'll go with that. All right, so this is what he talked about.
That was one of your peer-reviewed papers?
Yes, it was.
And are there scholarly journals and studies on the synchronization of clocks?
There are, yes.
Did you use that methodology in your analysis to come to arrive at an opinion about the time variance between the defendant's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, I did.
And do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes, I do.
And what is that opinion?
The clock variance is between 21 and 29 seconds.
If we could have number 42, please.
Okay, so the clock on the Lexus that's recording the movements of Karen's Lexus and John O'Keefe's phone are 20 to 29 seconds variant. Okay. An interesting amount of time. Anyhow, I'm going with it. I'm going with it. I'm going with it for now. But I'm taking what he says as it's his testimony after a great deal of analysis. So I'm using his times. Right? I'm using his times.
What is this, Mr. Burgess?
Sure. So this is, if we think back to the last slide, we've identified the 3-point turn event in both the data sets. So now if we want to adjust one clock to the other, we can do that. And doing that, we've identified that the variance is between 21 and 29 seconds. So we would need to adjust the Lexus clock forward by 21 to 29 seconds to synchronize it with the iPhone data. So in doing that, the end of text stream event 1162.1 goes from 12:23:38 to 12:23, between 12:23:59 and 12:24:07.
Okay, so it's adjusted the Lexus to fit the time on John O'Keefe's phone, because these are not the actual time, these are not the time of the world, but he's found an event that both devices register, and therefore it can then synchronize the Lexus time with the phone time. Again, let's go with this.
These two clocks, one on the left being the Lexus clock that reads 12:23:38 a.m., and the other clock on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone has a different time, 12:23:59 to 12:24:07. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty if these two clocks pertain to an event that's happening at the same time or a different time?
Yes. So these two clocks are, we are synchronizing these clocks to an event that is happening at the same time.
So this is a 3-point turn. So the 3-point turn, both devices have registered, but there's a time variance, a time discrepancy, and he is going to match the Lexus time with the phone time so that the two are synchronous, and therefore he can then extrapolate that from when the Lexus reverses. What is John's phone doing at that exact time that Karen's Lexus is reversing, i.e. hitting John O'Keefe?
This is relative to the first text stream event, the 3-point turn. You said there was a second text stream event that you were analyzing.
Correct. There is a second text stream event.
And what is that second text stream event?
That second text stream event is a backing up maneuver.
Are you familiar with the time frame on the Lexus clock relative to that second text stream event?
Yes, I am.
And what is that time frame?
So it is approximately 19 minutes from the ignition on.
And do you know what time that is on the Lexus clock?
Yes, I do.
With the court's permission?
Yes. So that is going to be 12:31:43. is going to be the end of that text stream event.
That text stream event, by the way, when it captures.
So originally, until the May 8th report, he said that Karen reversed between 12:31:38 and 12:31:43, which put John well out of the car and away. It could not have happened. The way that the state says could not have happened. John O'Keefe could not have been hit. So what he's trying to do now is fiddle with the data to make Karen's reversing exactly the same time that John O'Keefe was literally in the firing line. That's what he's trying to do. He said he did this just on his own, But then later on, when being cross-examined by Alessi, says, oh yeah, I spoke to Hank on the 7th. So Hank lied. I don't know whether Judge Bev is going to actually say anything to Hank, because if this had been the defense team, they'd have been in irons. They'd have been in jail. They'd have been in the dungeon. They'd have spent the night eating dry bread in a dungeon if Bev had her way. Hank lied. He lied to Bev. He lied to the court, saying that he was surprised to get this report. Yeah, exactly. If Hank's lips are moving, he's lying. Exactly. Oh, yeah, the bits and the bites. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, Chloe. Chloe knew the difference between bits and bites. She absolutely did. She absolutely did. I mean, that's the whole other thing, that he got bits and bites confused, but easily done, I guess. Give Jesus. All right, let's carry on.
Captures data. How long, what window of data does it capture when there's a text stream event or a triggering event?
Sure. So when the trigger occurs, it captures data 5 seconds before and 5 seconds after the trigger.
What if the event is less than 10 seconds?
So if it's less than 10 seconds, it would capture the entire event. If it's more than 10 seconds, it would only capture a partial snapshot of that event.
And so when you talk about the data for the backing event, is that the 10-second window you're speaking of?
Yes, that is that 10-second window.
Does that have anything to do with defining the length of the actual event?
No, it does not.
Okay. When you looked at the time from the Lexus clock regarding that backing event, did you do an analysis of John O'Keefe's phone considering the variance that you identified?
Yes, I did. So I applied the same variance to that second text stream event.
When you apply that variance between the Lexus clock and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, what is the...
Right. So he's adjusted the clock. So he's applied the variance. So we've now got synchronized time at the time of Karen's reversing maneuver. We now have that time synchronized with John's phone. This is really, really important that the two times are synchronized. So at the time that Karen is reversing, what is John's phone doing? Okay.
Could I turn to 43, please? What is the time of that event if we're referring to Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Sure. So that the time of that event with the clock variance adjusted is 12.
Clock variance adjusted.
12:32:04 to between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12.
So the reversing maneuver happened between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. So there's a margin of error. So it doesn't mean that that's how long it took her to maneuver backwards. Because I asked AI just out of curiosity. Hold on. I argue with ChatGPT now. All right, this is my conversation that I had last night with ChatGPT. Because I took last year at trial 1, Trooper Paul said that Karen reversed at 24 miles an hour. So earlier on in this trial, they said that Karen, I think this was during the opening statement, that Karen reversed for 70 feet. So if I put the two together, if a car was driving at 24 miles per hour, how long would it take to travel 70 feet? All right, so there's the calculation. Here's the answer. It would take approximately 2 seconds to travel 70 feet at 24 miles per hour. I just can't see anybody reversing at 24 miles per hour. So then I thought, let's just assume that the 8 seconds was the full reversing event. Now, we know it isn't, but let's just imagine. If a car travels 70 feet in 8 seconds, how fast is it going? The car is traveling at approximately 6 miles per hour, which is more of a normal speed for a reversing event. However, that's not what he's saying. I was just playing. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying that the entire maneuver took 8 seconds necessarily. Yeah, Karen can join NASCAR. 24 miles per hour wasn't a constant speed. Well, it reached 24 miles per hour. It reached 24 miles per hour. You need to use the acceleration formula, not the simple. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is not the full event. Like the 8 seconds is the margin of error. Okay, so the maneuver could have happened at any point between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. So he's extended it by 3 seconds because previously he said that variance, that margin of error, was 5 seconds between 12:31:38 and 12:31:43. But now we've got 8 seconds between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. Now, it only matters if you want to know the exact time the maneuver took. That's the only time it matters. But in this instance, this guy is saying that the maneuver, however long that maneuver took, happened between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. So you're right. If she reached 24 miles per hour, but was only traveling at, much less time, or was accelerating to 24 miles per hour, then yeah, it would be longer than 2 seconds. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Now the lock event. The lock event that the reporter mentioned. Listen to this again. Listen to this again.
Surprised to get a report on May 8th that was only shared with us on May 11th. And now we find out from this witness that Attorney Brennan knew this report was coming the whole time. That's the definition of an ambush. That's what just happened.
What do you think of his?
Yeah,
what do you think of his timeline?
What about the credentials? Anything on his
Do you have any
credentials at
more
all?
idea of any more?
It's called fraudulent. It's fraudulent. It's a lie.
Will you be able to challenge his conclusion?
Yes. Do you think the data was fudged? You'll hear more about the data. Our case hasn't started.
you'll be able to show that the phone was locked after the backup event?
So you'll be able to show that the lock, so he's talking about John's lock, when he manually locked his phone, when he clicked the power button, that happened after. That's what he's saying. They don't need to show that. Look. So this is based on my little timeline. This is what it comes down to. You can take everything else away. You can take synchronizing her Lexus time with a ring cam and an alarm cam and everything else. You could strip it all away. It comes down to a 20-second period. This is what it comes down to. So the blue is John's phone. The pink is Karen's Lexus. Now, when it says begins and ends here, I need to change this because it's not. It's not a literal beginning and end. It's that the maneuver happens between these times. All right, happens between these times. But these, because this is the phone, this is actually a beginning and an end time. Because the phone will record when the action of the walking begins and then when that ends. And then there'll be the calculation of the steps. So that's that time, that 20 seconds between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16, that 20 seconds, that's the time when John walked 36 steps, which is 83.5 feet. Okay. But the reversing maneuver happened between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. Okay. So let's imagine John gets out of the Lexus, and this is according to the state's own witnesses. The state's own witnesses, right? John is out of the Lexus and begins walking. Now, during Ian Whiffin's many graphs that he showed, he actually showed the phone moving in a westerly direction. What's a westerly direction? Oh, that's towards 34 Fairview. So he's walking. He's out of the Lexus and he's walking. He gets a text. He reads a text. And then he locks his phone for the final time at 12:32:09. But he carries on walking until 12:32:16. But the maneuver, the reversing, right, the last time that could have happened is 12:32:12. So by the time the maneuver even begins, the first possible time that the maneuver could have begun, John's already walking. So unless he's just meandering down the road, he's walking towards 34 Fairview. He's nowhere near the curb. He's got 8 seconds to move out of the road by the time Karen even begins her reversing maneuver. He's already walked 8 seconds. He's only walked for 8 seconds. So if you can walk 83 feet in 20 seconds, he's going to have walked, 30 feet? So what's 8? 8's 40%, isn't it? 40% of 20 is 8. Am I right? Hold on. So if I walk 83.5 times 0.4, he's walked 33 feet. He's already walked 33 feet by the time Karen's maneuver even begins. And this is the first time, according to Burgess, this is the first time this maneuver could have begun. So even if the maneuver began here, and she did floor it, and she did 24 miles per hour for the majority of the time, even if she did, right, that's the least amount of time it could have taken. And I understand that just doing a flat time of 24 miles per hour isn't accurate. I understand that. But that's if she went 0 to 24 in 0.1 second, right, she could have done it in 2 seconds. Obviously, it's going to be longer than 2 seconds. But even if she floored it, the first time, according to Burgess, that she could have done it is 12:32 and 4 seconds. By then, John has already walked 33 feet. Make that make sense? Because he's already been walking for 8 seconds. 8 is 40% of 20, isn't it? So 83.5 times 0.4 to get the percentage is 33 and some change. Correct my math, anybody? Correct my math. Because I'm not great at maths. But hold on. Let's have a conversation with ChatGPT. What is 40% of 20? 8. Thank you. Right. So, how far could he walk in 8 seconds? So we get 40% of 83.5. 83.55. What is 40%? Nope. Where's percent of 83.5? Oh, look. There's my math. There's my math. 33.4 feet. So by the time Karen begins, even if this is when she began, she could have begun it here because it's in between. It's in between this. It's not a beginning and an end. It's an in between this. Right? So even if she begins it here, John has had 8 seconds and he's walked 33.4 feet. Why would he still be in the road? He wouldn't be. He's on the lawn. He's well away from the curb. So unless she maneuvered onto the grass to get him, unless she spun the car out and reversed, like did this big, like, I don't know, this big swerve backwards at 24 miles per hour and went onto the lawn and then hit him. But I don't think anybody's actually suggesting that. She did not hit John. So if she did the maneuver here, right, John is 33 feet away, reading a text, and then locks his phone, and then whatever he's doing, wherever he ends up, that walking period ends at 12:32 and 16 seconds. John did not get hit by Karen. This is based on the state's own witnesses. This is based on Ian Whiffin's timeline and Burgess's adjustment of Karen's Lexus times based on Ian Whiffin's timeline of John O'Keefe's phone. Now, in the cross-examination, we've not got there yet. So I'm going to be very, very interested to see what Alessi makes of this timeline, to see whether he goes down the same kind of thought process that I did. Because if he does, this is just obvious. It just jumped out at me. It's just obvious. Put it on Twitter. 12:32:04 to 12:32:12 adjusted time for Karen's reversing is at the same time that John was walking 36 steps and 84 feet. It was actually 83.5 some feet. That was between 31:36 and 12:32:16. So Karen could not have hit John. Game over. Alessi, get him. Boom. But we've not got there yet. We've got that joy to come. Let me get this straight. Mr. Burgess, or at least his company, lied about his qualifications. This is the same guy who took it upon himself to write a report that Brennan was surprised to get, and whose analysis doesn't show that Karen hit John. Okay, got it. It's Hank Brennan. This is facts. This is facts based on the state's own witnesses. So if the jury can't put it together, let's just hope Alessi has. Now, of course, Karen was absolutely right when she said that their case hasn't even begun yet.
Conclusion.
Yes. Do you think the data was fudged? You'll hear more about the data. Our case hasn't started.
Our case hasn't started. Our case has not started. So we're cross-examining the state's witness, right? And then it'll be cross-examining the other aperture witness, who is this guy. Hold on. Welcher. Welcher. There's loads of people who work for this place. Look at them all. Don't know whether they're all lying about their qualifications or what, but anyway, they're in alphabetical order, so we're down here. Welcher. It's a big company. Here he is. Judson B. Welcher. This is the guy. Executive Vice President. So, does he have hiring and firing capacity as the Executive Vice President of the company? Because if he does, he might want to be looking at the testimony of one of his ex-employees. I don't know what kind of structure this company has, but let's have a look at his qualifications. So, PhD in biomedical engineering, an MS and a BS, all in mechanical engineering. Let's hope he didn't lie about his quals. Let's hope. Let's hope. Look at his CV. Doesn't say when he got it. University of Southern California. Doesn't say when he got his PhD. I got mine in 2002. So, just to tell you. But not in maths or general whatever. Dr. Welcher has been employed in the field of biomedical engineering and accident reconstruction for over 30 years, specializing in trauma causation and prevention, human tolerance, restraint design, instrumented testing with humans and anthropomorphic test devices, crash dummies, accident reconstruction, and amusement park rider tolerances. Interesting. What? So how much you can bear a corkscrew or a Big Dipper or whatever. Dr. Welcher has consulted on thousands of civil and criminal forensic cases regarding aspects of both accident reconstruction and biomedical engineering. He has testified in local, state, and federal courts regarding accident reconstruction and biomechanical engineering. Okay, cool. Cool, good for him. So that's Welcher. So we've got him to come. I don't know how many more witnesses there are, honestly. Oh, I wasn't even showing you that. I wasn't even showing you and you didn't tell me. Oh, you want to see the thumbnail. There you go. There you go. That's all you missed. That's all you missed. This is Welcher. So there's his CV. Doesn't say when he got his calls. So I don't know how many more witnesses there are. It's obvious he's not going to be calling Brian Albert and Higgins. I don't think he's going to go there with them. So I would imagine that we're actually close to the end of the state's case. But there's only, I think we're only doing 3.5 days this week. So I think the state's probably going to rest beginning of next week. And then it's going to be the defense case. Now, of course, remember, defense don't have to put on any witnesses whatsoever. They don't have to do anything. The burden is on the state, in this case, the Commonwealth, to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, if the jury are putting all this together, if the jury can see that this timeline proves, based on the state's own times, proves Karen could not have hit John. It proves it. But they've got to put it together. So I hope Alessi puts it together. Now, these times might change because we've not heard what Arca have to say. But if we go with these times for now, based on the state's case, Karen could not have hit John. And I don't know whether Brennan can see this. I assume Brennan can't. I assume Brennan can't, or else he wouldn't have put this witness on, surely. Because this proves that Karen did not hit John. Absolutely proves it. Now, the media, like Court TV, were banging on about it. That, oh, this manoeuvre event happened, you know, in the time that John locked his phone. So John locked his phone for the final time at 12:32:09. And, you know, if the manoeuvre event happened at 12:32:12, then he's locked his phone and then she hits him. But no, you've got to listen to what Whiffin actually said. That John was in the process of walking between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16. So 20 seconds of walking. He walks 83.5 feet, does 36 steps. So by the time this maneuver, the earliest time this maneuver could have begun, according to Burgess, was 12:32, 4 seconds. John has already walked 33.4 feet. So Karen could not have hit John. Based on these times, you got to look at every single second. Karen could not have hit John. There's 8 seconds there that John walked 33 feet in a westerly direction. She could not have hit John. Boom. Let's hope Alessi puts that together. Or Alessi might have a different interpretation. So let's wait to see what Alessi has to say. But at the moment, he's doing a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic job. Like dismantling this guy. Dismantling him. Like every single sentence is another blow. And another blow. And another blow. And it just carries on and carries on. He definitely walked to the house. Someone said the house door is 70 feet from the flagpole. I said it. I'll show you once more. I said it. All right. Right, I've got to share my entire screen for this. Because annoyingly. I've got hay fever. 94. Fairview coming. Boom. I'm just checking on my other screen that you're seeing this. Are you seeing it? Can you see the map? On my other screen, it's still showing the cats. We can see the map. Good. Right. That's fine. So I think you're like a few seconds behind StreamYard. Okay. Let's zoom in. Whoa! We always go in the trees there. Oh, no. Don't want to do that. Oh, it's gonna have to finish its maneuver now. Right, boom. All right. So if you measure from the flagpole to the front door, it's around 70 feet. I did a test. If anybody saw my video of me looking at I found a patch of grass that was about the same size as this front lawn. I found a piece of grass in my local area, and I went and stood there at night to see what I could see. All right, but from the flagpole to the front door is about 70 feet, approximately. That's only 61 feet. Well, from the curb, I think it's about 70 feet, because I've put this marker here, approximately where I think John was found. So, but if you take it from the curb, like here, it's about 70 feet, 73 feet. I've got a little twist in it. Maybe from there, 70 feet. However, John walked 83 feet, 83 and a half feet. So if John got out here, right, at the flagpole, and he walked to the back gate, oh, we got 82, almost 83 feet. Oh, what if Brian Higgins was waiting at this gate and said, John, come in here. John, come this way. So Karen, well, John, let's have a look where 33 feet is. So John gets out here, sees Brian Higgins, starts walking, checking his text, walking. Where are we at? 23, 29, 30. There's 33 feet. There's 33 feet. So he's well aware. So unless Karen, because remember, she reverses back, according to Hank Brennan, she reverses back 70 feet. She reverses back 70 feet. So she's over here. Unless she's like here, like how far 70 feet on the road? That's bumpy. So she reverses back 70 feet. That's like to the driveway. But she reverses back and then flies off. And something that I'm finding that the Commonwealth don't want to talk about is Karen's phone connecting with John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi. I find that they're not putting that in the timeline. I want to know why they keep very quiet about that. Is it because it doesn't fit? Because if the maneuver happened between 12:32 and 4 seconds and 12:32 and 12 seconds, that only gives 4 minutes to get from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows Ave. And the time Google gives you is 6 minutes. Just 1 second. Okay, so this is the time Google gives me. 7 minutes. 8 minutes. It's usually 6 minutes. There must be some traffic or something. What's going on there? So, but Karen supposedly did it in 4 minutes. And you might think, well, she was drunk. She was taking risks. She was driving faster than the speed limit. Okay. Okay. So she's driving faster than the speed limit. She does it in 4 minutes. Is it possible? Yeah. But it's dark. It's snowing. It wasn't snowing heavy at that point. So could she have done it in 4 minutes? I guess so. But she'd have had to floor it. Like, this is going by the speed limit. Vinnie Politan from Court TV did it a few days ago. And they didn't do it in less than 6 minutes. They also took the route that John O'Keefe took, well, John O'Keefe's phone took, to see whether the phones would register any steps. And they didn't. They didn't register any steps and they didn't register any flights climbed. So, don't know how John's phone managed to, but that's what the state are saying. And again, we can argue about all of that, but what it actually comes down to is 20 seconds. You boil it all down, strip it all away. What the state's theory comes down to is 20 seconds. And Karen being able to get from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows to connect with the Wi-Fi. So you got to be within 100 feet. Like my Wi-Fi, I can walk from my house to the road, which is about 120 feet. And that's when my Wi-Fi starts cutting out. Like it switches over to data. Like it kind of goes off for a second while it switches over to data. At about the road. So it's 120 feet, I think. As the crow flies. So, yeah. She had to be within 100 feet, let's say 200 feet of the house. So she had to be coming on to Meadows Ave at 12:36, and I think it's 30. I want to say 38 seconds, but that might be wrong. But it's in the 12:36 minute anyway. So she does that drive in a little over 4 minutes. Did she floor it? Probably. Who knows? She was mad, so maybe. But why do the state not talk about that? Why do the state? And also, the Burgess guy said, just reminded me, that she didn't turn her Lexus off until 12:42. Now, I don't have the timestamp for it, but he definitely said it. Do you remember? He said that the ignition went off at 12:42. So are the state going to try and say that Karen only got back to One Meadows at 12:42 because that's when she turned the ignition off? Because the Wi-Fi tells a different story. So if they're trying to say that, they then have to prove that the Wi-Fi clock was wrong. They then have to sync the Wi-Fi clock with the Lexus clock. Now, is it possible that she sat for 6 minutes and didn't turn the ignition off, or she got out of the car and left the ignition on? Like, do those kind of cars turn off automatically? Like, would it turn its ignition off itself if it, was idling for 6 minutes? Would it just turn off? Like, was she that mad that she just got out of the car? Because she was calling John. Like, all of those phone calls that she made in quick succession, she was calling him at that time. And there was one of the voicemails that they played, that the state played, and you could hear her walking about, and it sounded like she's walking on a wooden floor. Like she's walking about in heels on a wooden floor. That's what it sounded like. So she was definitely in the house. She sat texting John. Maybe. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I just said, Chicken Jackie. There was a voicemail. You could hear her walking about. You could. So I'm going to have to go back and get the times of that. But I don't think it matters. I honestly don't think it matters. It's only going to matter if the state try to say that the Wi-Fi time was wrong. It's interesting that no one has talked about Karen's phone. So we're not talking about Karen's connection to the Wi-Fi. We're not talking about Karen's movements. We're not synchronizing Karen's movements, Karen's phone movements with the Lexus. Why not? Why not? Because if we can synchronize Karen's phone with the Lexus, then you'll be able to say, well, we've synchronized the time that she reversed. We might be able to get an exact time to the second that she reversed. There's a lot that the state are missing out. There's a lot of questions I've still got. And it looks like we're towards the end of the state's case. And we've not heard from the state anything about Karen's phone. We don't know if Karen's phone registered the steps and the floors climbed that John's phone did. Surely we could get location data from Karen's phone, which would back up the state's case, surely. The fact that we've not heard anything of that, and I'm wondering whether Karen's phone data does not back up the state's case, and that's why we're not hearing about it. Wouldn't the Lexus register what time the door locks opened? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, she could have got lost leaving the neighborhood. It was an unfamiliar route. So the fact that, you know yourself, right? If you're driving a really well-known route, you can do it faster because you know when each curves are coming up. You know when you're likely to get a light or not. You know where the junctions are. But on an unfamiliar road, because she's not from Canton, like they got lost going from the waterfall to 34 Fairview. So she may have took a wrong turn. It may have taken longer than 6 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever. But the times we've got at the moment are these. So let's see what today brings. So I'll be back tomorrow to talk more to talk more about this guy. I think he's going to be on the stand for a while yet. I don't think Alessi's going to let him go just yet. And then he's got to cope with redirect and recross. So I think it's going to be a while. So I'll be back tomorrow to talk a little bit more about this Burgess guy. Let's hope he's not had a medical emergency overnight. Poor guy. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to A to Z for the $10 as well. Thanks as always to the mods. And I'll see you soon. I've got a Lily and Jack Sullivan video that's ready to be released. It's all done and dusted. I just haven't released it yet. I'm going to release that in the next 10 minutes over on MichelleAfterDark. So if you're following that case, then I've got a video coming out in about 10. So something to watch before. We've got over an hour yet. Started this a little bit early, but we've got over an hour, just over an hour before we get the next installment, and it's gonna be fireworks. All right. Until tomorrow, I'll see you then. Bye, guys.